Right. So in the last class, we have seen how to develop the Webdynpro components using what context, how to read the context, okay, how to set the data in the context. Okay. Now let's see. And last week only we have seen how to navigate from what one view to what another view. That is done by using what plugs, outbound plug and what inbound plug. Now let us see what data exchange between what views. Okay, we have just seen what how to navigate from what one view to another view. Now let us see how to exchange data between the views, between views within what same Webdynpro component. So there are two ways we can do this. We can implement this in two ways. One is creating what context at what level, component level, understood, creating the required context, creating required context at component level, and mapping the context to both what, to both source and what target views. Okay, creating the required context at what component level and mapping the context to both and target views. Another, by using plug parameters, by using plug parameters we can exchange the data between what two views. So first let us see what this one. Okay, creating the required context at component level. So already we know component means it is global na? Suppose if you take or any normal ABAP also, if you have any global variables, okay, that global variable we can access what, we can access what throughout the program. Similarly, if you create any context at what component level, it can be accessed where throughout the component. Okay, so my requirement is something like this here. So my requirement is I should have one source view. Try to understand, this is my source view and this is your what target view, source view and what target view. Okay, so this is what source view and this is target view. Okay, now what I want is in the source view I want a form kind of thing. Okay, where I have to enter what employee number and what employee name. So assume this is employee number, assume this is employee name, and I should have what one what button kind of thing. Okay, so like what something what next button, and I should have some two labels. Okay, what are they? Employee number and what employee name. So I'm assuming this is like a form kind of thing, a record kind of thing. Okay, so what is my requirement now? When I enter the data in this employee number and employee name, when I click on the next button, okay, this data I should able to display it in what my target form. So in the target form also I require what employee number. In the target view also I require employee number and what employee name. So this is your what employee number and this is your employee name. Suppose here if I enter the data something like this 10 and what something what Raju, when I click on this button, okay, this it should display me what target view. In the target view also it should show me what the same data 10 and what Raju. So already we know. Okay, again this I'll take this as what a form kind of thing. Okay, I assume this is a form, right? This is my form. So what is the context? How do you navigate from one view to another view? Yes, already we know. In the source view, we have to create what? Yes, outbound plug. In the source, excuse me. Yeah, in the source view, we need to create the outbound plug. So assume this is your outbound plug in the source view. Okay, and in the target view, we have to take what? Inbound plug. Okay, so this is your inbound plug. So let me just put it here. This is your what? Outbound plug, and this is your inbound plug. Outbound plug and inbound plug. So what you have to do now? Yes, we have to what? Link the outbound plug with what? Inbound plug of what? Target view. We have to link the outbound plug of source view with the target view. This linking, we call it as what? We call it as what? Navigation link. Okay, so where do we do this navigation link? Where do we do this navigation link? At what? Yes, window level. Navigation link is always done at what? Window level. Done. So here I am dealing with the data now. So this is nothing but we have two input fields, but this is like a form kind of thing. So what is the context we can create for this? Yeah, I can take two attributes, two individual attributes. I can bind with these fields, but I want it a kind of form kind of thing. So I'll go for what? Node. So what I can do, I can create the view context here. Okay, with a node. In that node, I have to take how many attributes? Two attributes, and I have to link that node with this particular form. But if I directly create the context at a view level, okay, what happens? The lifetime of that view context is what? Local to the view. Means once you come out of the view, once a control comes out of the view, the memory allocated for that view context will be destroyed. So that is the reason what I have to do is I have to create the context. Okay, I have to create the context at what level? Component level. So this is my what? Component context. Understood? Globally I have to create the what? Context. So this is my component context. In this component context, assume that, yeah, this is your what? I have to create what? A node. Okay, I have to create a node here. So assume that I'll give the node name as what? EMP. Okay, and inside this node, I'll, okay, this I'm calling it as what? Node. What is the cardinality of this node? I will take what? 0 to what? 1. I may enter 0 record or what? 1 record. Okay. Now inside this node, how many attributes I require? Two attributes. So employee number is what? A means what here? Attribute. What is this type here? Yes, integer. I'll take another attribute. Assume this is employee name. Again, this is attribute. This I'll take it as something what? String. Understood? So this is the context I'm going to what? Create. This is the context I'm going to create. So under this node, I'll create these two attributes. So something like this. This is one attribute. This is another attribute. Am I clear? This is the context. So why I took two attributes here? Because my form requires what? Two input fields. So now what I have to do? This is your what? Source view context. Okay, this is your source view context. So what I have to do is whatever the context is available at what? Component level, I need to what? Map it to what? Source view. Okay, so what I have to do here, this particular EMP node, okay, this particular EMP node, okay, I will link with what? EMP node of what? Source view. Is it clear? So what I am doing? I am mapping the context from where? Component level to what? View level. So this I will call it as what? Internal context mapping. So again, what is context mapping means? Mapping the context nodes from what? One controller to what? Another controller. So here I am going to map it from where? Component level to what? view level. Okay, so since this view also belongs to the same component, I will call it as what? Internal context mapping. Similarly, what I have to do here, I have to create what? Yes, this is your what? Target view context. Okay, this is your target view context. So let me put it like this. So I need to what map this one, same thing now. So here let me just copy this, control C, control V, I'll put it here. Okay, so what you are doing now, we are what? Mapping something like this. We are mapping the context from where? From component level to what? View level. So again, this is called as what? Internal context mapping. So when you are practicing, what you do is, don't create the context at what? Component level. Directly create the context in the source view. Create the similar context in what? Target view. Run this. The moment you exit the source view, the data will not be available here, because the moment you enter the exit the source view, since we have created this context locally, this context will be what? Destroyed. Am I clear? So I am going to create it what? Component level. Then what you have to do, after mapping the context from component level to what? View level, what you have to do, we have to map what? This particular what? EMP node with your what? Form. You have to map your EMP node with your form. This process of binding, we call it as what? Context binding. Mapping the context, mapping the nodes and attributes from context level to what? UI element properties, we call it as what? Context binding. Same thing I'll represent here also. Hope it's clear to everyone. Okay, so this is called as what? Again, context binding. So what is the agenda here? Agenda is what? I should able to exchange the data between what? Two views within the same Webdynpro component. So one way is create that required context at what? Component level, and map it to what? Both source and what? Target views. Map it to both source and target views. So that process is called as what? Internal context mapping. Okay, so let me just save this. And so let us quickly do this. Right, so as usual, what you'll do, first you'll create what? Yes, Webdynpro component. So let me go to object navigator, I'll go to SC80. Right, so in this object navigator, from the drop down, I'll choose Webdynpro component. What is the last component? 3. So I'll go for what? 4. Z10AMWD4. Webdynpro component interface does not exist. Create the object. Yes. Then here description. What is the description? Something data exchange between what? Views. This is your internal context mapping. Okay, so already we know, along with the component, what gets created? One window gets created and one view gets created. So I'll rename the window to what? Underscore window for my understanding. How many views are involved here? Two views. So let me give meaningful names. So I'll give the view name as something what? Viewer. This is my initial view. I'll give the name as what? V1. I'll save it in the local objects. Right, so already we know in the last class, whenever we create the Webdynpro component, what happens? On behalf of every Webdynpro component, one controller gets what? Created. That controller, we call it as what? Component controller. So here also you can see, this is my Webdynpro component. For this Webdynpro component, we have what? Component controller. You can assume this component controller similar to what? Top include program. In module pool, we have a top include program. What we use with this top include program, will declare global variables, will define subroutines and what modules. Okay, here I can use a component controller for doing the global declaration. So what I have to do now initially, I have to create the context at what level? Component level. Okay, so how do you create the context? Yeah, you can see in the component controller, we have a tab what? Context tab. It is in display mode. Let me switch to what? Editable mode. Yeah, it has opened editable mode. This is called as what? This is called as what? Root context. Last class I explained this is called as what? Root context, and this root context is represented by what interface? If underscore wd underscore context underscore what node. If you go to class builder sc24, we have an interface. What is that? If underscore wd underscore context node. Am I clear? So I repeat once again, this is called as what? Root context, which is represented by the interface what? If underscore wd underscore context underscore node. Yeah, what we will do in the root context, we will create the nodes and what? Attributes. So in this case, I require what? One node. Under that node, I require what? Two attributes. So on what basis I will to create this? We have to visualize your view. My view requirement is what? I should have a form kind of thing which should contain two input fields. So that is the reason I'll right click on the root context. I'll right click on the root context and I'll say create what? Nodes. I'll create the node. I'll give the node name. It is asking the node name. You can give any name. Let me give a meaningful name. Let me give it as what? EMP. Right? And I'm not referring to any dictionary structure. So what is the cardinality here? 1 is to 1 or what? 0 to 1. Anything is fine. So I'll go for what? Let it be what? 1 is to 1. By default it is 1 is to 1. Done. So as of now I'm creating a blank node with cardinality as what? 1 is to 1. So why I'm giving the cardinality as 1 is to 1? Because I'm creating this node to bind with the form. A form can store a maximum of what? Single record. That's the reason I'm giving the cardinality as 1 is to 1. I'm creating a blank node. Later on, we'll see all these things. All these things will come in the future topics. Okay. So I'll just say continue. Right. So a blank node is what? Created. Under this node, I have to create what? Two attributes. So what you have to do? Right click on your node, right click on your EM, not on the root context. If I create on the root context, it will create under root context. But I want to create under what? EMP node. So right click on the EMP node, create what? Attributes. I'll give attribute name as what? EMP number, type what? I. Nothing but what? Integer. Continue. Done. Then right click on the EMP node, create attribute. Let me give the attribute name as ename. Type what? What? String. Okay, type is what? String. Continue. Right. So two attributes are created under your node. So my global component context is created. Right. Then we have what? View one. I require one more view now. So how do you create one more view? Right click on the view node here and say create, or else right click on the what? Component. Right click on the component and say what? Create what? View. I'll give the view name as what? V2. Provide some description. I'll give the description as what? Second view. Continue. Right, second view also is what? Created. Done. So both the views are what? Available. So what is the next job now? Already I told before we design the view layouts in Webdynpro, before we design the view layouts, what you have to do? We have to visualize your layout so that you'll get an idea what context you have to create. So in both the views I require form now, right? So form is always created based on what? Node. Form is always binded to what? Node. So if you observe here, this is my view one. In my view one, if I go in view level also, we have what? Context tab. If I go to context tab here, do we have any context at view level? No, we are having the context at what? Yes, component level. So I have to do what? Internal context mapping. So I have not done any internal context mapping. And remember, there is no context available at what? View level. Directly I'll try to design what? Layout. There is no context available at view level. I'll go to layout. Yeah, what I have to create here? I have to create a form kind of thing. Okay, I have to create a form kind of thing. So how do I create this? See, already we know all the UI elements whatever we create, all the UI elements whatever you create, you will create it as what? Yes, you will create it as what? One second, you will create it as what? Child of what? Root element container. So what I can do now, I'll choose this root element container, right click on this. Here we have what is this? Create container form. I can do like this. Otherwise, I'll select this root element container, and the application toolbar you can see we have what? Webdynpro code wizard. Choose select this root element container, and I'll go to what? Webdynpro code wizard. If I click on this, Webdynpro code wizard, yeah, see here we have what? Form. What is this here? This template creates what? Form. So I'll try to create the form now. I'll select the form, click on what? Continue. When I click on continue, it is asking on which context node you want to create the form. Okay, do we have any context node available at view level? No. If I click on this context, what is happening? Nothing it is showing. At the view level I don't have anything. So that is the reason, make sure that context is available at what? View level, then go for what? Designing part. So what I will do now, let me just cancel this. Okay, I'll cancel. Hope it's clear to everyone. So what I'll do now, I have to do what? Internal context mapping. So go at the view level context tab. Right hand side is showing the context available at component level. You have to map it to what? View level. So see what I'll do. This is my what? A root context. This is my child node. What is the child node? EMP. Under this child node EMP, we have what? Two attributes. So what I'll try to do is, I'll try to map individual attributes. Instead of mapping node, I'll try to map what? Individual attributes. So what I'll do, I'll drag this EMP number from component level. I'll try to drop it in what? View context. When I try to do that, let's see what happened. Good. What is saying here? I got an information message. Mapping for root node context is not possible. So what is the meaning? I cannot map individual attributes from component level to what? View level. Only node level mapping is possible. From where? Component level to view level. Online, hope it's clear to everyone. Only node level mapping is possible. So what I have to do now? Yes, I'll drag and drop EMP from component level and drop it in what? View root context. So when I drag and drop, this kind of mapping is called as what? Internal context mapping. So when I place it here, is it mapped here? Yes. What is the information I got here? Mapping for the context element is what? Defined. So I got the node and what? This is called what? Internal context mapping. Repeat the same process for what? View 2. I'll go to view 2. Here also done. So internal context mapping is done. So now context is available in the respective views. So before I continue, any questions, please ask me. Any questions? Okay, done. So now what I have to do, I have to design what? Layout. So I'm at view 1. So context is available at what? View level. So what is the thumb rule? Before we design the layout for any view, ensure that context is available in what? View context. Okay. Now I'll select what? Root element container. I'll go to what? Code wizard. Yes, what you have to choose? Form, continue. It is asking on which context node you want to create. Let me choose the context. Yeah, I can. Good. See here. This is also important observation. What is enabled here? node is enabled, attributes are what? Disabled. So what is the meaning? I can create the form only based on what? Nodes. Right? Understood? I can design the form, I can bind the form only to a node. So I'll choose what? EMP. Done. And this EMP node has got how many attributes? Two attributes. Since we have two attributes, how many input fields it is proposing? Two input fields. Am I clear? So what is the UI element? It is taking by default input field. And to this input field, your attributes are binded. With what property it is going to bind? Value property. Understood? So for the input field, what is the most important property? Value property. So continue. And what is the default layout? Flow layout. So last class I told flow layout means what? The UI elements are added from what? Left to what? Right, top to bottom. Left to right, top to bottom. So continue. Yeah, you can see a form got what? Created. Okay, so this is my form. Yeah, you can see what is this element? Label UI element. And these are what? You can see what is this? Label UI element. This is what here? Input field. For label UI elements here, what is the important properties for label UI element? Last class we have seen what is what? Label class, label for. We are providing this label on behalf of which input field? This is the input field. Na? So that's why you can see the label for a property. What is assigned there? Yes, the name of what? Input field. So text, what is the text you want to give? Employee number. Done. Then and for this is input field. What is the important property for input field? Value property. You can see here, this is my input field. If you scroll down, check the value property here. It is binded with what? Your attribute. What is the attribute? EMP number. This is the attribute of which node? EMP node. EMP node is available at what level? View level. Okay, done. And similarly for second label also, I'll just try to set the text. What is the text shall I set? Yes, employee name. Done. So my view layout is what? Designed. Is it clear? So I got both the input fields. Done. Now, now what is the requirement in the source view? When I click on the button only, I should navigate to what? Target view. So for this button, I have to attach what? Yes, outbound plug. So before I design the button, what I'll do? I'll create the outbound plug so that I can associate the outbound plug with what? The button. So let me go to the view one. In the view one, I'll go to what? Outbound plug. I'll give the plug name. What is the plug name? Any name you can give. Any name you can give. What shall I give? To view 2. Any name. I am giving a meaningful name to view 2. Done. If you want to give the description, give it. Similarly, in the V2, that is in the target view, we require what? Inbound plug. So in V1 outbound plug tab, I have given the plug name to view 2. Any name you can give. I'll go to V2, double click on V2. Yes, in V2 we have to choose what? Inbound plug. Provide your inbound plug name. You can give any name. I'll give the name as what? From V1. Any meaningful name. Done. So both the outbound plug and what? Inbound plug are what? Available. Okay. Next, what you have to do? Yes, you have to link your both the views to what? Window level. Na? Because navigation link is established at what level? Window level. And apart from that, I told if you want to show any content to the user, make sure that the view is plugged to what? Window. Okay, so I'll go to window level, double click on the window level. We have only one view. What is the view attached here? View 1. I have to embed another view also. Na? So how do you do it? Right click on what? Window. Right click on the window. Say what? Embed view. View to be embedded. Browsers. What is this? V2. Okay, so I'm attaching the second view also to the window. So you can observe here both the views are embedded to what? Window. Now we have to establish what? Navigation link. So how do we establish? After embedding both the source and target view to the window level, if I expand my view 1, we are having what? Outbound plug. If I expand my view 2, we are having what? Inbound plug. How do we establish the navigation link? Right click on what? outbound plug, say what? Create navigation link. Right click on the outbound plug and say create navigation link. Yeah, what is the startup view? V1. What is the destination view? V2 now, browsers. Let me cancel this. This default is the first class I told. If you are not attaching any view to the window, we are not getting any error. We are getting a blank view now. We are getting a blank view. That is nothing but the default view. Okay, you can assume like that. So this doesn't have any purpose here. You can just ignore. So how do you establish the navigation link? Right click on what? Outbound plug. Say what? Create navigation link. What is the destination view? V2, which has got one inbound plug. It is proposing the navigation link. Okay, this is a destination view which has got the inbound plug. Continue. Done. So the navigation link is what? Established. Okay, done. Then let us go back to what? V1, that is view 1. I'll go back to the view 1. Next, what you have to do in the view 1, I require one button. So right click on what? Root UI element container. Right click on the root element container. Say what? Insert element. I'll give the ID as what? B1. Type is what? What is the type of UI element? Button is the type of what? UI element. Done. Okay, this button is a what type of UI element. Then for this button, what are the things you have to give? Yeah, first let me give the text. Where is the text here? Let me select what button, then try to set the all those things. So what is the property? Text property. I'll give the text as what? Next. And then you have to define the action. What is the event for the button? On action. On action is the event triggered whenever we click on the view button. So I'll just click on this, provide what? Action name. So you can give any name. Let me give the name as go underscore to underscore what? View to. Any name. I'm just giving a meaningful action name. Then if you want give the description, I'll give the description as what? Navigate to what? View to. Then here you have to attach what? Outbound plug. What is the outbound plug available at view 1? To view 2. So when I browse this, what I got? To view 2. Done. Continue. So I'm attaching the outbound plug to what? Button. So let me save it. Check for the syntax error. Activate this. Oh, sorry. Before I activate, how do we execute this? We have to create what? Webdynpro application so that a URL gets generated. So right click on the component, create what? Webdynpro application. I'll give the application name as what? Underscore app. I'll give the description as app4. Continue. Done. Application is what? Created. A URL got generated. URL got generated. Let me save it. Continue. Activate your all component. So whenever we create the application, a URL gets created. What is the doubt? 1 second. Why we do all things in inactive? I didn't get you. Activation is only one time job now. So I'm creating all the necessary objects. Then at once at the end I'll do what? Activation, so that all the objects will be activated. Right, so I'm trying to activate the entire Webdynpro component. Okay, done. So then let me execute. So whenever we create the application, a URL will be available. right click on your application and say what? Test. Acha. What happened? Yeah, it's loading. Yeah, this is nothing but the source view. Na? In the source view only we are having what? Next button. Target view doesn't have. Okay, so employee number I'll give what? Something 18. Employee name I'll give something Raju. And I'll click on the next button. So whenever I click on the next button, what is the event triggered? On action. In that on action event only I have attached what? Outbound plug. So outbound plug will be fired, will be called. That outbound plug is linked with what? Inbound plug of what? Target view. Inbound plug is used for what? Entering the view. So when I click on this, okay, when I click on this, what happened? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have not designed the layout for the second view, na. So let me go for what? Right? Second view. Right? This is a second view. I don't have any what? Layout. That's why I got a blank view. So here also I require what? A form kind of thing, na. So what you will do? Right click on this and say what? Create container form. What is the context node available here? Here also what? V2, what is the node? EMP. Done. Done. Yeah, if you want any header, yes, you select the checkbox. Heading block kind of thing. Also create section header. Okay, continue. Has it created anything? Yeah, you can see, and it has created what? A section header kind of thing, like a block kind of thing. Okay, text I'll give it as what? What? Second view. Done, 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 done. And here also, if you want to give the labels for the label, you give it. I'll just give what? EMP number, anything, whatever you want to give it. So then this I'll give it as what? EMP name. That's all. This is my what? Second. Understood? I got a heading kind of thing. Section header it seems. Let me save it. Check for this. Activate this. Understood? Since I selected the checkbox, I got an header UI element also. Done. Let me activate the whole component once. Then it is activated. Let me execute. Right click on the application and say what? Test. So I'll enter some employee number here, 88, and I'll enter something Pawan. When I click on the button, did I got the data? I got 88 and what? Pawan. So because we are within the same component, we are in the target view, but I mapped the context from where? Component level to what? View level. So the lifetime of that context means the lifetime of this data is throughout the program. So as a practice, what you do, you don't create the any context at what? Component level. You create the separate context in what? Source view and what? Target view. You will not get any errors, but when I exit from source view, when the target view is displayed, you will get the form but without any data. Because the moment you come out of this, the data maintained in this will be what? Destroyed internally. Is it clear? So this is the way to exchange the data. This is one of the way to exchange the data between what two views within the same Webdynpro component. Any questions? Please ask me. No questions. Okay. Right. So this is one way to what? Exchange the data component. What is the other way? By using what? Plug parameters. So let us understand this concept first. Yeah. Always we will add our context nodes and context attributes under what? Root context, no? Right? So just try to understand this naming this thing. Yeah. This is your context. I am calling this as what? Yes, root context. This root context is represented by which interface? If underscore wd underscore what? Context underscore what node. This is the interface. This is a standard interface given by whom? SAP itself. Okay, right? And for this interface, who has given the object? By SAP itself. Where I can see that object? If you go to observe here, this is important. If I double click on component controller, this is called as what? Root context. This is called as root context, represented by which interface? If underscore wd underscore context underscore node. So already when in object oriented, we cannot create the objects for what? Interfaces. So the object for this interface is given by whom? SAP itself. Where I can check it at the component level. If you see the attributes tab here, see there is one attribute. What is this? wd underscore context, which is the object of type ref2. Object of which interface? If underscore wd underscore what? Context underscore what? Node. So try to understand. So object, what is the object given by SAP? wd underscore what? Context. This is very, 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 very important. Try to focus. This is the root context, which is represented by the interface what? If wd context, and for this interface, object is given by whom? SAP itself. Where is this object available? As part of what? Component controller attribute. Let me check whether it is available in the view level. If I double click on the view, in the view also we have what? Context tab. Sorry, we have what? Attributes tab. Do we have at the view level attribute? Yes. What is this? wd underscore what? Context, object of which interface? Same interface. If wd what? Context. Let me double click on v2. In v2 also is it available? Yes. Let me double click on the only window available. At the window level, if I go to what? Attributes, is it available here? Yes. So what you have to understand, this object is given by SAP at how many levels? Yes. Yes. Component level, what? Window level, as well as what? Yes. Views level. Am I clear? So done. Right now we have created one outbound plug. Now we have created one outbound plug. Where we will create the outbound plug? Always in the source view. Yes or no? Outbound plugs are always created in the source view. Okay, now see here. This is outbound plug. What is the name I gave for my outbound plug? Huh? Yeah, if you go to the view one, in the outbound plugs tab, what is the plug name? 2v2. So try to understand this concept. Outbound plug I gave. What is the outbound plug name? 2v2. Okay. Whenever we create any outbound plug, okay, whenever we create, before I discuss this, leave it. I have created one view now. What is the view names I gave? What are the views I gave? V1. Understood? I gave one view name. What is this? V1. On behalf of every view we create, SAP will create one local interface. This is a standard interface. This is global, na? Global means what? I can see it in what? SC24. On behalf of every view we create, SAP will create what? One local interface. What is this interface name? If underscore what? What? View name. Am I clear? On behalf of every view we create, SAP will create what? One local interface. What is this? If underscore view name. So tell me what is the view interface name now? If underscore what? V1. If underscore what? V1. Let me check that. Excuse me, please. Let me take a call. Hello. Sorry? Yeah, I'm in the class. I'll call you back. No, if I require. Right. So see here, where we are. What is that view name? V1. Okay. Now, if you see here, in the attributes tab, do we have any interface with that name? What is this? If underscore what? View name. If I give the view name as ABC, what is the interface name? If underscore what? IF underscore what? ABC. So done. What is the other view I created? Yes, v2. What is the interface name I'll get? If underscore what? v2. Let me cross check it. Is it available? At the view level attribute, we have what? So this is a thumb rule. For every view you create, one local interface gets. Why I am saying local? I cannot open this in SC24. I cannot open this in SC24. Done. Okay, done, done, done. Now, next part is, whenever I create any Webdynpro component, what gets created? Component controller. Okay, so let me double click on component controller. If I go to attributes tab, okay, on behalf of the component controller, what is the interface which gets created? Yes, if underscore what? Component controller. Okay, so what you have to understand, let me put it here. On behalf of what? Component controller. Okay, right? On behalf of the component controller, as part of what? Component controller attributes, what is the interface which gets generated? If underscore what? Yes, component controller. Am I clear? So where we use this means we use it in everywhere going forward. So just try to understand. So if I am at the component controller level, what is the name of that interface? If underscore what? Component controller. Again, this is not global. It is what? Local. It is again what? Local. Let me try to open this globally. I'll open another interface, another instance. I'll go to what? SC24. What is saying here? Does not exist. So it is not what? Global. It is what? Yes, it is local. Done. It is local. Done, done, done. Okay. Now, we are at the view attributes level. Try to understand. We are at the view attributes level. If I am at the component controller attributes level, what is the name of the interface? If underscore component. Now let me go to view level. Let me double click on the first view. In the view level attribute, what is this name here? IG. And am I clear? So if you are at the component controller attributes tab, it is given with what name? If underscore component. If you are at the view level attribute, whatever is there inside this will be there here. But what is the name? IG underscore what? Component controller. Am I clear? So if I am writing the program, if I am writing the code at what? If I am writing the code at what? Component controller methods, I have to refer to what? Refer to what? If underscore component controller. If I am at what? View level. In the view level also we have what? Methods. Na? So if I want to refer to component controller, I have to refer to what? IG underscore what? Component controller. Am I clear to everyone? It's also interface. It's also interface. But at component controller level, it is available with what name? IF underscore. When we are at the view level, the same thing whatever is available here also it is available with what name? IG. IG. Global interface name must start with what? IF. Is it a global here? No, no. So it can start with anything. Local means what? Which is available on behalf of your component. I can give any name. If I am creating anything globally, SC24, then you have to follow the standard starting with what? IF. That's what I have shown now. This is what? Local. So don't think that everything starting with IF is global. No. You have to check it. You have to go to SC24 and check. So what you have to understand for the time being is, if you are writing the logic at what? Component control level, you have to refer to what? IF. If you are writing the logic at view level, I cannot refer to what? IF. I should refer to what? IE. So just keep this in mind. How to use it, we'll understand that going forward. Okay. Is it clear? Done. And on behalf of every view, what gets created? A local interface. What is the name? If underscore v1 and not if underscore v2. Now let us come to what? Achha, before I continue further, Any questions up to this, please ask. No? Okay. Now we have created what? Outbound plug. Where do we create the outbound plug? Always in what? Yes, source view. In this context, what is the outbound plug name I gave? To view to. On behalf of every outbound plug you create, SAP will create one method. I repeat once again. On behalf of every outbound plug we create, SAP will create what? One method. What is that method naming standards here? Method name is fire underscore, okay, fire underscore what? Outbound what? Plug name underscore plg, underscore plg. Now in this context, tell me the method name. Yes, fire underscore, yes, fire underscore, what is that outbound plug name I gave? To view to underscore what? pl. Okay, and where this method will be available? This will be available as part of what? Local view interface. Already I told now, for every view what gets created? A local view. What is the name of that? If underscore v1. So let me go to this interface. Let me check whether this method is what? Available or not. So observe now. I am at the view level. So go to what? This is a plug name, remember. I'll go to what? Attributes. What is the local view interface? If underscore v1. Let me double click on this. It has opened. Check that anywhere available. Scroll down. At the last, what is this? Fire underscore what? Outbound plug name underscore what? plg. Is it clear? So if you remember these things, we can play with Webdynpro. Okay, done. Then I created what? One inbound plug. What is the inbound plug? Where do we create? In the target views. What is the inbound plug name I gave? From view 1. So let me just document here. From what? View 1. So whenever we create any inbound plug, SAP will generate what? One method. What is that method name? Handle. What is this? Inbound what? Plug name. Handle inbound plug name. Where this will be available? In view methods tab. This will be available not in what? Local view interface. It is available in what? View methods tab. So if I take this v2, we have what? Inbound plug. What is the method name? Handle followed by what? Inbound plug name. So where I can check? In the view, in the same view level. If I go to what? Methods tab. In the methods tab, do we have that method? What is this? Handle followed by what? Yes, inbound plug name. What kind of method this is? Event handler method. So let me put it for your reference. This method is what? Event handler method. So already we know in object oriented, the business logic for the events, we'll write it inside what? Event handler method. So event handler method means we will not call it. We will call it by the system itself whenever the event is triggered. So anyhow going forward, I'll call it, then you'll understand. Okay, is it clear? So if you know these things, we can play with what? Webdynpro. Any questions? Many of them are absent still. Okay. Yeah, any questions?
Sir, I have one question.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, is that if underscore component controller is local for the component controller, right?
Yeah, local for the component controller and global for the views.
Global for the
views.
Okay. in that case, can we access that if underscore component controller in the views? But why again view attributes has given the IG component controller?
Yeah, we can access in the sense, see, accessing in the sense, whatever is there in this, I should able to whatever is there in this, I should able to access at what view level. But
Okay.
those things are available inside what? IG. Whatever is there inside this, all these things will be available inside what? IG underscore component controller. So for this IG underscore component controller, what is the object they gave? Yes, WD underscore what? Component controller. If I am at the component controller level, I am saying it is similar to what? If underscore. What is the object I gave here? WD underscore this. So what I mean to say is, if you are writing the code at what? Component level, what you will use? You will use what? WD underscore what? This. This
Okay.
WD underscore this is referring to what? If underscore component controller. If I am writing the code at what? View level, I cannot use WD underscore this. What I have to use? WD underscore component controller, which is referring to what? IG underscore component controller. This is indirectly referring to what? If underscore component controller.
Okay.
Okay. Anyhow, when I do couple of examples, you'll understand this. Okay. So
Okay.
just park it aside for the time being. Any other doubts? Others? No, sorry, after you're telling something.
Inbound plug method.
In?
Inbound plug method.
Ah. Hmm.
There is a method.
Hmm.
Handle inbound plug.
Hmm.
So we can go in IF underscore view2.
How to access these methods? We'll see it going forward. If it is available inside the local view interface, I require the object of what? Interface. This is not available inside the interface. It is available directly in the methods tab. Okay, so how to access? We'll see that.
It is not available in this IF underscore view2.
It is not available inside that IF underscore. That's what I said. See, if I go to V2, what is the inbound plug name? From V1. What is the local interface which gets created on behalf of V2? If underscore V2. Let me go and check there. It should not be available there. I'll double click on this. Check, is it available there? What is this? Handle what? From V1. But if you see here, can you see it here? Can you see it here? Yes, I can see it here. Yes or no? Same na? I can see it here. I can also see it in what? Inside the interface. So what I am trying to say is I don't require object of what? This one. How to access we'll see. If I go to V1, in the V1, what is the outbound plug name? Yes, to view2. In the V1, the outbound plug name is what? To view2. Okay. If I go to the local interface, is it available here? Yes, it is available here. Now let me check in what? Methods tab. Is it available here? No. Understood? It is not available here. Okay, but that's what I am trying to say. In case of outbound, always refers to what? Local view. In case of inbound, forget about local view. Yes, it is available there also, but you have to focus on what it is available inside what? Methods tab. So how do we access? We'll understand that going forward. Okay, this is not available inside what? Methods tab. But whereas this is available both in what? Methods tab, or if it is a confusion, you also put it as what? What? Local view interface. Very clear? Yeah. Any doubts further? Done now? Okay. So keeping all these things in mind, we should go for what? What? Now onwards, we will be using all these things going forward. Okay. So here also, in this case also, what you are doing here, we are clicking on what? What? We are clicking on what? Button. Whenever I click on a please mute your speakers online, Rambabu. Please mute your speakers. Yeah. So here, when I click on this button, what is the event triggered? Yes, on action. So whenever that on action event is triggered, Okay, what happened, this outbound plug will be what, fired. Fired in the sense what, the system is going to call this particular method. What is the method available for outbound plug? Fire underscore what, so and so. Let me show you that. Let me check whether I can show it here. This is my view 1. What is the outbound plug name? To view 2. Whenever I click on the button, what is the event triggered? On action. Acha, I forgot. Not forgot, already I covered this. For every action we create, one method gets generated. Na? Last class I think I told. So for every action, suppose the action name is what here? What is the action name? Go underscore to underscore what? View 2. Okay. One method gets generated. What is that method name I said? Yes. On action followed by what? Action name. Where this will be available? In the view what? Methods tab. It is available inside what? View methods tab. So in this context also, sorry, in this context, yeah, tell me what is the method name now? Yes, on action. What is the action name? Go underscore to underscore to underscore what? View 2. So see here, just observe this. In my view 1, we are having what? One outbound, sorry, we are having what? One action. What is the action name? This action I have linked with what event? Action event of what? Button. If I go to methods tab, do we have that method? What is this? On action followed by what? Action name. What type of method this is? Event handler. What is the concept of event handler methods? We will not call that methods. Those methods are what? Automatically called by SAP. So did I wrote any logic for this? No, na. So let me double click on this. What they are doing internally? Yes. When I click on the button, what should happen? We have to fire the outbound plug. Firing the outbound plug is nothing but what? Calling the appropriate method related to what? Outbound plug. What is the appropriate method? Fire underscore so and so. Is the code is auto generated? Yes, because we are attaching that action to what on action event of the button. So I need not write the code, but every time it need not be a button. My customer will say that when I press enter key in my last input field, I should navigate to what? Target view. So in that case, I should know what logic I have to write. So that is the reason we are understanding this. If it is a button, okay, fine, the code is auto generated. But it need not be a button. It can be checkbox. It can be input field. So at that time, I have to fire what? Outbound plug. Firing the outbound plug means what? Calling what? Appropriate method related to what? Outbound. Am I clear to everyone? So this is what method here? Yes, event handler method. Any questions? Done. So what is the next requirement here? By using what? Plug parameter. So I cannot cover this example, but let me just show you the requirement. Here. This is a requirement. See, again I will take what? Source view and what? Target view. So what is my requirement here? In my source view, I'll enter what? Sales document. What is the validation? See, when the user what? Presses what? Enter key in what? Sales document of what? View 1. Check whether the data is what? Entered. If so, fire what? Outbound plug to navigate to what? View 2. So what you have to do in the view 2? Acha, validation 2 is what? If data is not entered, flash what? Message. So in our normal web we use message keyword. Na? Here I cannot use it because it is browser based. So I should know how to deal with messages in what? Webdynpro. Am I clear? So based on this sales document, I should get what? Sales document header data. I should get what? Sales document item data and display it in what? Target view. So I require appropriate context for this also. Na? This is a form. I require what? Node with cardinality what? 1:1. This is a table where it can accumulate what? Multiple records. So I require a node here also with cardinality what? 0 to n. And here it is an individual input field. Na? So I can directly take what? An attribute. So what you have to export here? We have to export what? Sales document. which has to be imported by what? Inbound plug. Based on that imported sales document, I should get what? Header data and what? Item data. Understood? So we are exchanging the data from one view to what? Another view. Here what we did in the earlier case, directly I maintain the context at what? Component level. So I need not export or what? Import. But here there is no context available at what? Component level. I am going to do it by using what? Plug parameters. So far we are only firing the plug. We are not exchanging any data through that plugs. Now we will exchange the data. This is the overall requirement. So this takes at least 1 to 1.5 hours to do this. Okay. So the actual coding will be starting it from tomorrow onwards, and we'll be hitting the database also, and we'll be using this 6. We'll be using this 6. Done. So any questions, please ask. What is the validation 3 here? View 2 should import what? Sales document, get the corresponding header data and what? Item data from the database table and bind the same to what? Form and what? Table. We know so far how to bind individual attribute, set method, set attribute, right? Here I have to bind what? A record, bind what? Records. Record and records. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can extend, but I don't know about the others. Actually, if I start at 10 o'clock, I need not extend till 12. Okay, today also I got late. I need to what prepone that earlier batch timings. Okay, so just bear for 1 or 2 days, Samit. I'll try to start by sharp by 10, at least by 10:05, so that we can discuss 1.5 hour per day, and we need not extend up to 12, because up to 12 sometimes it will not be possible for me also. Okay. So just bear for 1 or 2 days. I'll just adjust those other batches. Done. So tomorrow at 10 o'clock we'll see this. But just go through all the classes whatever we discussed so far, and try to understand these things. Everywhere in every requirement we'll be using all these things. Okay. Done. So if there are no questions, I'll wind off. We'll continue tomorrow. Chalo. So we'll continue tomorrow at 10 o'clock.